Inspired Spotify then? What was the challenge there?
Well, the challenge was actually, if you kind of fast forward, I ended up accidentally starting a few of those companies, like a web hosting company, following the web design company. At a time, I thought, this company Google sounded pretty cool. This is back in 1998, so I applied for a job there, and they kind of said, "Hey, come back when you have a college degree." So I said, "Screw them! I'm going to build a better search engine. Can't be that hard."
Right.
That actually did turn out to be really hard.
Yeah.
And I took a lot of the money I had in this web design thing and tried to pour it into that and lost it all.
Got it. What happened when you started the rocket ship company? Difficult.
Yes, it is.
But it falls into that same category, which is I think Elon didn't actually know fully exactly how hard the rocket ship company would be.
Right.
Until he started putting them up.
Right. And I think that there's something like if people would know there's something said about the entrepreneurs that are successful in an industry are seldom the people with the best knowledge about it. It's usually either outsiders or people that have somewhat of an insight, but aren't like full deep into the weeds of why things are working the way they are, because then most people just wouldn't be doing what they're doing.
And it can become too daunting because you've heard all the reasons why it wouldn't work. I mean, let's face it, Spotify was not the first online streaming service or online music service.
Right.
I guess Pandora was, and then before that, Rhapsody maybe.
Rhapsody was actually way before.
Way before.
Yeah.
They kind of took a lot of arrows. Coming up the hill.
Yeah.
When did you come up with the idea of Spotify? Was there a specific moment where you said or have the PR people constructed a founder story?
The PR people definitely constructed the founder story by now. But
what's the real story?
The truth story is, I came to the point where I ended up selling some companies in the end, almost going into bankruptcy, but then managed to turn things around and then sold the company. Ended up, thinking about what I wanted to do with my life. And my co-founder, Martin, actually ended up selling or IPOing his company, which is Tradedoubler, roughly at the same time. So we were sitting in my apartment in the suburb in southern Stockholm, and we were just brainstorming what we wanted to do and what was important to us. And actually, ever since Napster, the first thing, that was what got me into that I knew that I wanted to be working with the internet.
Oh, really? You downloaded Napster and you were like, this thing is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal because, back then, the web was really just text.
Right.
At best, there was some GIF animation of a funny rabbit or something.
Yeah.
But
the blue dot, it bounced around from Razorfish.
Yeah, exactly. But it just wasn't very exciting. And then all of a sudden with Napster, it was really the first service that showed that the internet was for more than just text and images. It was really like a multimedia thing. So for me, I just realized at that moment, like, holy shit, this is what I want to do. This is going to be the next big thing. And so I came back to that, really thinking about it. If Napster was the first thing that got me into the internet, how is it that music just hasn't been solved? And we started talking about it because it was so obvious that from the consumer endpoint, this is how people wanted to consume music. They wanted to listen to more music than ever before. They wanted to discover new artists, integrated mass. They loved having it, on demand in the sense of, back then it took a few minutes to download the song, but it still felt a lot better than going out driving in your car, going to Tower Records, picking out the stuff. It was just a really, really, really fundamentally broken thing, because for the first thing, you had the consumer thing, and the consumer thing was actually working, but it was the business model that ended up being the problem.
Right. It wasn't that people didn't love Napster or Kazaa.
Right.
Or even Travis's first company, Scour.
Yeah, exactly.
It is very interesting when you think about it. Travis did Scour, Red Swoosh, Uber, and then you have Nicholas who did Kazaa. The video service in between, and then Skype. What was the video service in between? It was going to be really big, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
We'll ask him about it.
Yeah.
when it comes out?
I forget.
Nicholas, what was that failure that you had between
Yes.
Skype and Kazaa? It was like the one that got you sued, and then there was the one that failed, and then there was one that was a huge hit.
Yeah.
We'll ask him.
Yeah. you should.
Entrepreneurs always appreciate that.
Yeah. Always.
Focus in on the failure.
Always.
So you decide you want to go for Spotify.
Yeah.
And what's next? Did you just build a prototype or an interface, or did you?
Yeah, we started building the product.
Oh, really?
That's always what came first for us. Is just like, and the original vision was like, imagine, we were iTunes users, so imagine having iTunes, but having all the world's music in your music library.
Right.
I was really sort of attached to this emotional sense. What would that do to your behavior if you had all of the world's music on your hard drive? And today we take that thing for granted, but back then, as I said, it took a couple of minutes for you to download just one song. So we needed to create that feeling about, immediacy of no buffering, no nothing. It just needed to be lightning fast so that it felt like you had all the world's music on your hard drive.
And in fact, in that time frame, people talked about the digital jukebox in the sky before the term cloud existed.
Right.
And people said, really the holy grail is this digital jukebox in the sky where you can have anything you want at any time.
Right.
Isn't it amazing it's here now?
Yes, it is amazing. But what's interesting about Sweden is it was here for a long time. Not just because of Spotify, but the truth is we had these broadband connections that enabled us. Actually yesterday I got gigabit fiber pulled into my house.
I hate you.
Yes, thank you. I knew that from before.
On behalf of all Americans.
Yes.
We hate all of you.
Yeah.
For your gigabyte. And also everybody in South Korea we hate as well.
Yes.
And let me guess, you're paying $30 a month for this.
So I am paying
$40.
149 Swedish crowns, which is less than $20 a month.
Now, I might punch you in the face.
Yeah.
You're paying $20 for a gigabit.
Yeah.
I mean,
month.
what are
Yeah.
you paying for in Brooklyn? I think you get 3 megabit for $85 from Time Warner.
Yeah.
My entire plan of everything is about $400.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically like you pay your rent, then you pay for your internet, and then your car and your kids' tuition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that. So, what was your plan to deal with the licensing? Because you did mention, hey, the interface kind of worked.
Yeah.
And Napster wasn't perfect, but they did
Yeah.
kind of get close.
Yeah. Well, so I wasn't very sophisticated in terms of what the plan was to tackle that. So the original plan was I guess it would take about 6 months to get the licensing done.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah,
There's somebody in Hollywood in charge.
Yeah, and sure we'll have to pay some money, but I mean, their business is going like this anyway, so I'm sure that they'll just want to get the music out there to as many people as possible, and we'll figure out a way to deal with it later once we get to scale, either through advertising or getting people to pay somehow.
You truly were naive.
Yes.